purposefully leaving me out of their lives to punish me for a crime I did not commit. I am only guilty of not falling madly in love with their mothers.
Well,
Madison actually called Janelle, saying Dad said he didn't love you.
I know, but couldn't you, like, reach out to her?
Every time I talk to her, she spreads gossip about me to the rest of the family. For years they were singing my praises, and now they're sort of loathing me. If they're trashing me to the public, I can't imagine what they're saying to my children, so it makes me very uncomfortable. Such a teenage drama. I don't like you any more than you like me. You know, it's civil war.
Welcome back to my channel. Have you paid attention on Sister Wives that none of the children are featured on the show anymore, or most of them? And if so, it's very seldom, and it's extremely unlikely in that they do scenes with their mothers or that they even show up at events. It's even less likely that you see them doing a talking head. Like, when was the last time you heard from Gwendolyn Brown, the daughter of Kody and Christine, on the program in a talking head, actually discussing what's happening in her life? When was the last time you happened to see Aspen Logan Hunter outside of a few of the children, including Mykelti and Madison and Gabriel, appearing lately to discuss the death of his brother Garrison, as well as Savannah? We haven't seen a lot of the kids this season. In fact, most of the children that we're seeing this season are Kody and Robin's children. And why is that? Why aren't any of the other children filming? Well, it could be because Kody doesn't pay them to film. Kody doesn't pay them to film. And there's no payment from TLC because TLC doesn't have contracts with them. And because TLC's contracts are with the parents, it's up to the parents to pay their kids. And so it's kind of difficult for the parents to entice their children into the show if they're not going to pay them. Now it seems like at least Christine pays her children now a bit, for the length of time that they spend on screen, the number of hours that they work, possibly minimum wage, I don't know, but Kody does not pay his children. So all of the times that you are seeing Aurora and Brianna and all of them on camera, just keep in mind that they are not being paid. They are profiting from the lifestyle that Kody is taking advantage of them for, right? They get the mansions, but they do not have a savings account for themselves. They do not have 1099s or income that they are earning from it. And for the number of years that these children have been on TV, you would think that they would have a nest egg saved up. But that's just not the truth. And I'm seeing this more and more this season as there's more and more dramatic behavior between the parents. The kids are more and more scattered and want nothing to do with the show. But it's not just like that. It's because the kids don't like to film. They don't want their privacy invaded. They don't want to be connected to a show that has, for all intents and purposes, did a great deal of harm and suffering in this family. And Garrison's death ought to have been a time for Kody, or even the women, to lay down the camera just for an instant, and actually stop and think about what the cameras are doing to the family. Now, reality television is its own monster, because on reality television, there is no union. Child actors and actresses are all subject to the SAG guidelines, the Screen Actors Guild, and they have a union, and they have rules for the children that are on screen and on film, and the Screen Actors Guild dictates how long a child can work, what their pay is, how much education they must receive, how many hours they can work a day a week, what type of fund must be established for their future, such as a trust fund. They have protection, at least more than the kids on reality shows that have none. And TLC is famous for not compensating children and exploiting children as a means of TLC to gain revenue. And what I'm really quite proud of Gwendolyn Brown doing is she was featured in a new article with Teen Vogue. Stars who were on reality TV with Hannah Gosling and Gwendolyn, a daughter of one of the Real Housewives, and two daughters from a 90-Day Fiancé spin-off, and here Gwendolyn had a lot to say. I believe it's somewhat timely because currently we are seeing what the backlash has been, because on the show they are not indicating that the last text messages that Garrison wrote had anything to do with the show and the arguments over the show. So it's timely that this came out and that Gwendolyn's speaking up in this manner. Now, she never speaks of her brother, but here's what she said to Teen Vogue. So Gwendolyn, you'll recall, was 8 years old when the show began. She stated, "I was huge into it as a kid." At school, she would discreetly inform the other children about being a star of reality television, and she and her brothers would vie for the attention of the cameramen. She treated the crew of the movie as her new uncles, and her family was boosted out of what she described as a poverty situation due to the show. They were extremely poor. And then she tells us, "We just got thrown into stardom and thrown into wealth, and I stopped needing and wanting things. Life is easier for a kid that doesn't have to worry about going hungry. It was a blessing at first." It wasn't until later, though, after she was treasuring through the muck of puberty on the shoot, that her perception of reality TV as a blessing clouded, and she realized someone was always lurking, and it made her feel claustrophobic. She stated, "I couldn't have a hard day. There wasn't a lot of privacy." And then cameras weren't permitted in the kids' rooms, in that, like, they weren't filming them all the time, but she stated she felt like she was always under a microscope. And she was angry with one of the moms once and snuck out of the house to get some distance, and she had just let out a yell of frustration when she caught sight of the camera staring back at her. She stated, "I was so embarrassed." She recalls having been taped during an episode of adolescent angst, and she feared the producers would feature her scream on the program, but it didn't appear. A blessing in small. She continued, "All that anger and all that attention, and sometimes I even wished to be angry on television. I think there were a few moments that I likely was. Even if, as a child, you wish for attention and you can look back now at an adult and be like that poor kid, but also poor me now." And it is true if you consider it. She and all of the children, whether they appear on the show today or not, their names come up on the show by the parents whether they wish to be associated with it or not. Whether they wish their lives to be made a drama or a battle is not in their control because their parents discuss them whether they appear there or not. So you are not as private even when you attempt to move aside if your parents can see what those cameras see. She also mentioned that there were moments she was thankful the cameras were around, such as when they got to take family vacations, and she can go back and watch those as family entertainment. They also caught the bad moments, such as when Christine divorced her dad, which led a sequence of all of the wives leaving him. And now that Kody's a monogamist, Gwendolyn's perception of the divorce was that it was going to happen, cameras or no. She explained, "I felt like they should have divorced for a while. I remember one time as a kid I saw them arguing and my first thought was, I hope they get divorced." What kid thinks that, right? In hindsight, she believes her parents did the best they could. She doesn't believe it's the best idea to grow up on camera. She liked some aspects of it. Now it's kind of ebb and flow. Her emotions regarding being filmed still change. I'm developing a stronger dislike for it, and previously I was like, this is my normal. And she states, "This does not have to be my normal." And it's strange. One other thing she said on this is that she was in a sense ambushed by producers regarding her sexuality and was asked and challenged to discuss her sexuality on television and having to come out on the show, although it wasn't something that she would have done in her actual life because she did not feel that she should have had to come out. Because why does anyone need to come out? Our sexuality is our sexuality. Do heterosexuals tend to say, "I like boys or girls"? You know, it's just not something most people do. But she explained that her coming out on TV was not the plan, and she explained that she does not like the fact that she has to come out queer when straight people do not have to come out straight. But waiting in the interview seat, a producer posed her one question that took her by surprise. "We were interviewing, I believe, about the divorce or concerning my sister Isabel relocating to North Carolina. And then suddenly the producer was like, 'Hey, your mom said that you're bi. Do you have anything to say about that?' And I was like, well, it's true. Can you picture your mom revealing your sexuality to a movie producer and then your producer subsequently using it later to discuss your sexuality with you? That almost feels like an invasion somehow. And I'm not Christine's hater, but not all of your child's details should be out there, okay? And this is from a woman that I don't even post pictures of my child and I don't discuss him because I don't want his public life. And then their sexuality is material for a television show." She remembers fumbling with an explanation of what bisexual is, one she now feels was so stupid. On this scene, she said she was drawn to men, women, and other spectrums of gender. The awkward description was from what she referred to as getting jumped by the producer who posed the question. Here is my take. Nobody ought to be required to discuss their personal life and aspects of their personal life that they're not ready to say openly if they don't want. Gwendolyn hadn't been hiding her sexuality, by the way. Okay, she had been discussing it on Twitter and she had been writing about it on her Instagram. It wasn't something that she was concealing, but it's so different to use social media to communicate than it is to have to appear on a nationally syndicated program on TLC, on a network that's going to be watched by millions of people. And a lot of those people are people from a culture that won't accept you. And so this could open up a lot of discrimination towards you, and it's just being used as a way to get ratings. You know, Gwendolyn doesn't mention this, but she did say that when she did talk to her family about her sexuality, Robin got mad at her and told her she should have saved it for the cameras. So when your parents are seeing your milestones in life as a way to generate money, that is sort of an issue when it comes to payment. They raised some of the major concerns with TLC regarding child labor, because of what has gone on with Kate Gosling in Pennsylvania and what Jill Duggar has said in her book. And Gwendolyn reiterated what they went through and stated, "The network only paid the parents. I don't know if they did or didn't expect the parents to pay us kids, but we weren't paid." In the later years, she reports her mom chose to pay her kids a set price per day or half day of camera time. She's not precisely clear how much she was paid. She adds, "It certainly hasn't been a fair share." And then, a representative from TLC spoke to say the network doesn't discuss specific talent contracts, but the payment is dealt with according to contractual obligations and prevailing labor laws and regulations. How are the payments treated under labor laws and regulations when the children do not even have a contract themselves? You are evading a contract for that very specific reason, like they are employing a loophole where they pay the parent and not the child. They do that on purpose so that they do not need to obtain permits for work permits for the children. And since the states that they were residing in did not require the children to have contracts or have trust accounts established for them, they want to shoot children in states with lenient laws like that. So they contacted Christine, and she informed them that the children were not compensated for their being filmed initially, although the family did save for their college and car money. We all know of the college and car money, and we all know that the children were not driving new vehicles. They were driving vehicles that were perhaps $2,000, $3,000, which for many kids is a luxury, but they weren't driving new vehicles. And if they saved money for the college, why did so many of the boys go through the military? Kody forced the boys into the military because they paid for school. So Kody wasn't paying for Hunter College, who attended the Air Force Academy. He didn't pay for Garrison. He most definitely didn't pay for Peyton. I have no clue if he paid for Gabriel and Gwendolyn at some point. I believe stated that her mother paid for her college. But I don't know that all of the parents, all of the children college, was paid. And not all the children went through or finished college. So for children that didn't finish college, where's the money? And paying for college isn't payment for labor. It's not if the parent can afford to pay for a child to attend college. It's nearly a duty for many parents. That's how many parents think, but they're treating college like it's presents. And because parents are adults, they don't have to pay. But parents often pay for it because the children don't have the funds to pay for it on their own. And in order to establish themselves in the real world, having a college degree prepares them for success. And what I find interesting is we don't know what Janelle's model is. I don't know if Janelle's paying anyone. We know that Gwendolyn said her mom did, but we don't know about anyone else. And if Kody wasn't paying them, I would bet you all the money in the world that he doesn't pay any of his kids with Robin. So if you want to know the truth about why these kids aren't on the show, it's because they have no privacy. Their parents use their stories for views. They're not paid for it, and they're exploited for drama and to make a show so the network can get ratings. And is that really the way you want to live your life, working for free? I'd say no. So keep that in mind as you keep watching this season. I'm proud of Gwendolyn for speaking out. This is very timely and this is very blunt, and it's a good way to remind people of the kind of scummy scumbag of Kody Brown. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up. Be sure to subscribe to my channel if you are not subscribed, and press the bell so that you don't miss a video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye, guys.